What if I told you that the difference between those who achieve extraordinary success and those who remain stuck in the same cycle isn't talent, money, or even luck, but simply how they choose to spend their time? If every hour you lived was a brick, would you use it to build a strong foundation for your dreams, or let it crumble into wasted moments you can never get back? Introduction. Time. It is the one resource we all share equally. 24 hours in a day, no more, no less. Yet, while some people use those hours to rise, build, and achieve, others watch them slip away unnoticed. The truth is simple. Time is life. How you spend your time is how you spend your life. Think about it. If every hour were a coin, would you spend it carelessly, buying only short-lived comfort and distraction? Or would you invest it wisely, compounding small efforts into extraordinary success? The greatest achievers of our world do not have more hours than you or me. They simply spend them differently. This book, Success by the Clock, is your blueprint for making every hour count. Inside these chapters, you will learn how to design your days, protect your focus, eliminate distractions, and build the habits that transform minutes into milestones. You'll discover that success isn't built in sudden breakthroughs, but in the quiet, consistent choices you make every single day. As you listen, I invite you to reflect not just on how you've been using your time, but on how you want to use it moving forward. Because the clock is always ticking. The question is not if you will spend your time, but how. And that choice will define your future. So let's begin. Let's learn how to master your minutes, and in doing so, master your life. Chapter 1. Time, the hidden currency of life. There is a truth so obvious that it often escapes our attention. Time is life. The way we use our hours, the way we measure our days, is the story of who we become. Yet most people move through life as if time were infinite, as if they could spend it casually, waste it carelessly, and still have enough left to create the future they dream about. The reality is far different. Every passing minute is a piece of life you will never get back. And when you begin to understand this, time reveals itself not just as something to be managed, but as the most valuable currency you will ever hold. We often compare wealth in terms of money. Some people have more, others less. Money can be saved, invested, multiplied, and regained. Lose it today, and with the right decisions, you may earn it back tomorrow. But time is different. No matter how powerful, rich, or influential you become, you cannot add more hours to your life. Once they are gone forever. In this sense, time is infinitely more precious than money. Time is the currency with which you purchase every experience, every opportunity, every achievement. It is the hidden economy of success. Think about the most successful people in history. What separates them from everyone else? It isn't simply intelligence or talent. It isn't even luck. It is how they chose to invest their hours. Consider the scientist who spends a decade in a laboratory chasing discoveries that change the world. Or the entrepreneur who spends sleepless nights building a vision into a company that touches millions of lives. Or the athlete who devotes thousands of hours to training so that a single moment of glory on the world stage is possible. Behind every great achievement lies a lifetime of intentional time spent in pursuit of something bigger. Yet, most people fail to treat time with this level of seriousness. They act as though tomorrow is guaranteed, as though they will always have another chance to start fresh. They allow days to blend together in routines of distraction, scrolling endlessly, gossiping meaninglessly, or procrastinating endlessly. Then years pass, and they wonder where all the time went. The tragedy is not that life is short. The tragedy is that so much of life is wasted. To live with success means to shift the way you see time. Instead of imagining it as something you simply have, see it as something you spend. Each morning when you wake up, you are handed 24 fresh hours. They are yours to invest however you choose. Some will spend them in ways that pay nothing back. Endless television, constant distraction, chasing shallow pleasures. Others will invest them in ways that compound, learning a skill, building a business, exercising for health, nurturing relationships, working toward a meaningful goal. Over time, these choices create an enormous divide. The small investments of one person turn into a life of purpose, while the careless spending of another leaves them with regret. Here lies the secret. The clock is neutral. It does not care who you are, where you were born, or what you hope to achieve. It simply ticks forward, offering the same 24 hours to each person. Success belongs to those who recognize this and decide to use their hours as building blocks. If you want wealth, fulfillment, mastery, or impact, you must pay for them with time. Every chapter of success is purchased by hours invested wisely. Now, let's pause and reflect. If your life were a bank account of hours, how are you spending it? Imagine that at the beginning of each day, you are given 86,400 seconds to use. At midnight, whatever you have not spent is erased. You cannot carry it over to tomorrow. You cannot save it for later. You cannot request an extension. That is how time works, whether we recognize it or not. Each day is a fresh deposit, and your future is determined by how you spend it. The danger is that because time is invisible, it doesn't feel like money leaving your pocket. If every wasted hour meant you were handing someone a $100 bill, perhaps you would be more careful. But because the cost is hidden, people trade their hours for nothing without realizing the loss. They sell their time cheaply to meaningless tasks and empty distractions. Only later do they realize what they've given up: the chance to build, to create, to grow, to live fully. So how can you begin to value time as the hidden currency it truly is? The first step is awareness. Start noticing where your hours go. Reflect on the past week. How much of your time was spent on activities that truly mattered? How much of it was invested in your health, your growth, your goals, your relationships? And how much was simply wasted? Most people are shocked when they calculate honestly. They realize that large portions of their lives are slipping away in exchange for nothing of value. The second step is intention. Once you see time as currency, you must begin spending it like an investor, not a consumer. An investor looks at the long-term return. If you put an hour into reading, you gain knowledge that can guide your future. If you put an hour into exercise, you gain years of health and energy. If you put an hour into focused work, you move closer to a goal that could change your life. These are investments. On the other hand, mindless scrolling, shallow entertainment, or endless procrastination are expenses. They consume time and return nothing. Success comes from shifting as much of your energy as possible into investment. Finally, the third step is discipline. Awareness shows you the truth, intention gives you the plan, but discipline ensures you follow through. It is not enough to know that time is valuable. You must act as though it is valuable every single day. That means setting boundaries, saying no to what doesn't matter, protecting your focus, and committing to routines that align with your vision. Discipline transforms knowledge into results. Without it, even the best intentions fall apart. One of the most important realizations you can make is that your relationship with time shapes everything else in your life. If you feel constantly overwhelmed, it is not because there is too little time, but because your priorities are unclear. If you feel stuck, it is not because the hours are missing, but because they are being spent in the wrong places. When you begin to treat time as the foundation of success, clarity follows. You start to see what matters most, and you build your days around it. History is filled with stories of individuals who changed the course of their lives by changing how they spent their hours. Consider the writer who committed to writing just one page every day, eventually producing a masterpiece. Or the student who studied 1 hour more than their peers each night, and years later became a leader in their field. Small, consistent investments of time create outcomes that seem extraordinary to others, but obvious to those who understand the currency of hours. The hidden currency of life is not money, fame, or talent. It is time. And the sooner you learn to treat it as the most precious resource you have, the sooner you can begin to build the life you desire. Success is not about having more hours than others. It is about valuing the hours you already have and choosing to spend them in ways that create meaning, growth, and impact. As we move deeper into this book, remember this truth. The clock is always ticking. Every second is a transaction. Every minute is a choice. Every hour is an investment. When you respect time as the hidden currency of life, you stop asking, "Do I have enough?" and start asking, "Am I spending it on what truly matters?" That question, more than any other, will determine the shape of your future. Chapter 2. The Success Clock Framework. Time is often seen as something abstract, an endless flow of moments we drift through. But what if you could see your day not as a blur, but as a carefully designed framework? What if every hour had a purpose, every block of time carried meaning, and every day moved you closer to the life you dream of? This is what I call the Success Clock Framework. It is the art of aligning your 24 hours with your values, your goals, and your deepest sense of purpose. The idea is simple. Every person on Earth is given the same number of hours each day, 24. No one has 25. No one has 23. Time is the great equalizer. The billionaire and the broke student, the famous athlete and the unknown dreamer, the visionary leader and the quiet worker, they all wake up with the same number of hours. What separates them is not the time itself, but how that time is structured. Success belongs to those who design their days deliberately. The Success Clock Framework begins with one question: when are you at your best? Every human being has natural rhythms. Some people think clearly in the morning, others come alive in the evening. Some feel most creative after exercise, while others need silence and solitude at dawn. To live by the success clock means to study yourself, to notice when you are sharpest, when you are weakest, and to build your day accordingly. This is not about copying someone else's routine. It is about aligning your life with your own inner rhythm. Let us start with mornings. For many, the early hours are the golden hours. The mind is fresh, the world is quiet, and distractions have not yet taken hold. These are the hours where clarity lives. This is the time to set intentions, to plan, to work on the most important task of your life before the noise of the day takes over. Imagine waking up and, instead of rushing or reacting, you begin your day by investing in something that truly matters. Writing, creating, studying, or strategizing. 1 hour spent in the morning on a meaningful task can be worth 3 hours spent later when your energy is scattered. But not everyone thrives in the morning. Some find their flow when the sun sets, when the world slows down and silence returns. For them, the evenings are their golden hours, a time of deep concentration and creativity. The framework does not demand that you wake at dawn or burn the midnight oil. It demands only that you know yourself and arrange your clock around your natural peak. Success comes not from forcing yourself into someone else's schedule, but from owning the rhythm of your own. Once you've identified your peak hours, the next step is to protect them fiercely. These hours are your most valuable currency. They are the hours where the greatest return on investment exists. Treat them as sacred. Do not give them away cheaply. Do not let them be stolen by meaningless tasks, interruptions, or distractions. If your peak hours are mornings, guard them against the noise of emails and notifications. If your peak hours are evenings, guard them against mindless entertainment or social pressures. Think of these hours as the crown jewels of your day, rare, precious, and powerful. The success clock also requires you to distinguish between different types of work. Not all hours are created equal. Some are meant for creation, producing new ideas, building projects, writing, planning, innovating. Others are meant for execution, responding to tasks, handling logistics, following through. Still, others are meant for renewal, resting, exercising, connecting with loved ones, restoring energy. If you mix these without order, your day becomes chaotic. But if you design your clock with intention, each type of work flows into the next, creating balance and momentum. Think of your day as a well-balanced plate. Too much of one thing leaves you empty. Too little of another leaves you unfulfilled. A life of constant execution with no creation leads to stagnation. A life of constant creation with no renewal leads to burnout. The clock is not only about productivity, it is about harmony. True success is sustainable only when your hours feed not just your ambition, but also your health, your relationships, and your soul. Let's go deeper. Within the framework, there are 3 key phases of every successful day: the morning foundation, the afternoon execution, and the evening reflection. The morning foundation is about clarity. It is when you set your compass for the day. Successful people begin not by reacting to the world, but by shaping it. They write down their goals, they plan their priorities, they spend time on what matters most. Even a short ritual, 15 minutes of journaling, a brief meditation, or reviewing your top 3 priorities can anchor the entire day. Imagine the difference between waking up aimlessly and waking up with a mission. The former drifts, the latter builds. The afternoon execution is about momentum. This is when you take the plans you made in the morning and bring them to life. It is the time for meetings, for tasks, for action. But here lies the danger. Afternoons are often filled with the urgent rather than the important. Emails, messages, and demands from others can fill every hour if you let them. The key is to anchor your afternoon with blocks of focused work. Protect stretches of time where you move the needle on your goals, not just on others' expectations. The evening reflection is about growth. It is the time to step back, to measure the day, to learn. Too many people collapse into bed each night without ever asking, what did I accomplish today? What can I improve tomorrow? Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without it, the days blur into each other. With it, you compound your learning and accelerate your growth. Even 5 minutes of reflection can change the direction of your life. Write down what worked, what didn't, and what you will do differently. That small act transforms every day into a stepping stone toward mastery. But the success clock is not only about the structure of your day, it is also about the meaning behind your time. To live by the clock means to ask yourself, what am I building with my hours? If you were to zoom out on your life, would you see a pattern of intentional growth or a pattern of wasted time? The framework is not about squeezing more tasks into your schedule. It is about ensuring that the tasks you do align with the future you want. Time is not only about quantity, it is about direction. 10 hours spent drifting does less for your future than 1 hour spent moving with clarity and purpose. The beauty of this framework is that it frees you from guilt. Many people feel guilty about rest, about leisure, about time away from work. But when you design your day intentionally, rest becomes part of the plan. Renewal is not wasted time. It is invested time because it allows you to return stronger. By including space for health, relationships, and joy, the success clock reminds us that success is not only measured by achievements, but by the quality of our lives. A well-designed clock makes room for both progress and peace. There is also power in consistency. The clock resets every day. If you design one day well, you will feel accomplished. If you design a week well, you will feel momentum. If you design months and years with intention, you will create a life of success. The framework is not a one-time act. It is a rhythm you return to again and again, like the steady ticking of the hands on a clock. Success is not built in bursts of inspiration, but in the steady beat of well-designed hours. And remember this, Your clock is uniquely yours. Do not fall into the trap of copying the schedules of others, no matter how successful they may seem. What works for one person may not work for you. Some thrive with early mornings, others with late nights. Some prefer long blocks of work, others short bursts of intensity. The framework is not rigid. It is a guide, a way of thinking, a structure you can adapt to your own life. What matters is not that you follow someone else's routine, but that you live with awareness, intention, and discipline. As you begin to build your own success clock, start small. You do not need to redesign every hour of your life overnight. Begin by protecting just one golden hour each day, one block of time dedicated to something that matters deeply to you. Over time, expand this into more blocks, more routines, more alignment. Slowly, your days will begin to feel different. Your time will begin to feel like it is building something. And that feeling, the knowledge that your hours are moving you forward, is one of the most empowering feelings you will ever experience. The success clock. Framework is not about controlling time. You cannot control time. The clock will tick whether you use it well or waste it. The framework is about controlling yourself, your choices, your focus. It is about aligning your hours with your highest vision of yourself. When you do this, you stop drifting through life and start designing it. This is the power of the success clock. It transforms 24 ordinary hours into a blueprint for extraordinary success. It teaches you to honor your rhythms, to protect your golden hours, to balance creation, execution, and renewal, and to live every day with clarity, intention, and reflection. It turns time from something you lose into something you invest. As we move forward, keep this truth in mind. Success is not built in years, it is built in days, and days are built in hours. When you master your clock, you master your life. Chapter 3. Design your days, define your destiny. Your life is not built in years, nor even in months. It is built in days. Each day is a small story, and when placed together, these stories form the narrative of your life. The question, then, is simple. Are you designing your days with intention, or are you letting them slip through your fingers without direction? If you want to shape your destiny, you must first learn to shape your days. It is tempting to think of destiny as something mysterious, shaped by fate, luck, or forces beyond our control. But the truth is more grounded. Destiny is designed. Every decision, every habit, every repeated pattern of your daily life shapes the trajectory of where you will end up. The foods you choose, the books you read, the conversations you have, the work you commit to, the way you spend your evenings, all of it compounds. What you repeatedly do in a single day becomes who you are across a lifetime. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of marble. At first, the stone looks unshaped, ordinary, unremarkable. But with each deliberate strike, the form begins to appear. Over weeks, months, years, the masterpiece emerges. Your days are the chisels. Each day you design and live with intention is another strike shaping your destiny. If you neglect the process, the stone remains unformed. If you strike carelessly, the shape becomes distorted. But if you strike with clarity, focus, and consistency, the masterpiece of your life emerges. The tragedy for most people is not that they lack dreams, but that their days do not align with those dreams. They dream of writing a book, but spend their evenings lost in endless distractions. They dream of health, but structure their days around convenience instead of movement and nourishment. They dream of financial freedom, but trade their hours for consumption rather than creation. Dreams without daily design are illusions. The only way to close the gap between vision and reality is to bring that vision into the structure of your day. So how do you design a day that leads to destiny? The first principle is clarity. You must know what you want. Without clarity, your day will be claimed by the urgent instead of the important. You will drift into other people's priorities, filling your hours with tasks that matter little in the long run. Begin each day, or better yet, each week, by asking, what truly matters? What would move me forward? If I could accomplish just one meaningful thing today, what would it be? Clarity is the compass. Without it, your time will scatter in every direction. With it, your time converges toward destiny. The second principle is priority. Not all tasks are equal. Some carry enormous weight, while others matter little. Yet most people treat them as if they were the same. They give as much time to trivial errands as they do to life-changing projects. Designing your day requires distinguishing between what is essential and what is optional. Ask yourself, if I do this task, will it move me closer to my vision? Or am I doing it simply to feel busy? Busyness is not productivity. In fact, busyness is one of the greatest enemies of destiny. Many people exhaust themselves each day and still move nowhere because they mistake motion for progress. Designing your day means cutting through the noise and focusing on the vital few. The third principle is rhythm. A day is not just a checklist of tasks, it is an experience of energy. You cannot design your day without understanding your natural flow of energy and focus. There are times when your mind is sharp, and times when it dulls, times when your body is active, and times when it rests. Success comes from aligning the right task with the right energy. Place your most important and demanding work in the hours where your focus is highest. Use your lower energy periods for lighter tasks. And always schedule moments of renewal, because a day designed without rest is a day that burns out too quickly. Rhythm is not about squeezing more into your hours. It is about sequencing your hours for maximum effect. The fourth principle is boundaries. A designed day cannot survive without them. Modern life is full of thieves, thieves of time, attention, and energy. Notifications, interruptions, endless requests, and distractions will claim every hour you leave unprotected. To design your day is to draw lines. This hour is for my work. This hour is for my health. This hour is for my family. This hour is for rest. Without boundaries, your design collapses. Boundaries are not walls that keep life out. They are gates that ensure the right things get in. Let us consider a simple but powerful truth. Every designed day begins the night before. Success does not start in the morning alarm. It begins with preparation. When you take 10 minutes at night to review your priorities, to decide what matters most tomorrow, you enter your day already ahead. You wake with clarity instead of confusion, direction instead of drift. The greatest waste of time is not in doing small tasks, but in starting the day without knowing where to go. Designing tomorrow tonight is one of the most valuable habits you can build. Now think about your current days. Are they designed or are they accidental? Do you wake with clarity, or do you stumble into the morning and hope for the best? Do you protect your peak hours, or do you give them away to distractions? Do you reflect at night, or do you collapse into sleep without learning from the hours you just lived? The gap between an accidental day and a designed day is enormous. One brings growth, momentum, and fulfillment. The other brings frustration, stagnation, and regret. Designing your day also requires honesty about what must be removed. Most people do not need to add more into their schedule, they need to subtract. Look closely at your hours. What activities drain your energy but give nothing back? What habits keep you busy but not productive? What commitments weigh you down without moving you forward? A well-designed day is not a crowded day. It is a day of focus. Subtraction is often the most powerful form of design. Consider the story of Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States. Franklin was not only a statesman, but also a scientist, inventor, writer, and philosopher. How did he manage to contribute so much in one lifetime? The answer lies in his daily design. Franklin lived by a strict schedule, asking himself each morning, "What good shall I do this day?" And each evening, "What good have I done today?" His life was not accidental. It was deliberate, structured, intentional. His destiny was built on days designed with care. Now let us bring this closer to you. Imagine a day in your ideal life. What would it look like? What would you work on? Who would you spend time with? How would you take care of your health? How much time would you dedicate to learning, to rest, to joy? Picture it in detail. That vision is not fantasy. It is a blueprint. Begin today to design your current days in a way that reflects that ideal. You may not be able to live it fully yet, but every small step makes it more real. The future you want is shaped by the present you design. Destiny is not a sudden event. It does not arrive in a single moment of luck or chance. Destiny is the accumulation of thousands of days, stacked one after another, each designed or wasted. A single day may not seem important, but when repeated, it becomes powerful. One day of reading grows into wisdom. One day of writing grows into a book. One day of training grows into strength. One day of investing grows into wealth. And one day of connection grows into lifelong relationships. Never underestimate the power of a single well-designed day, for it carries within it the seed of your destiny. As you listen to these words, I want you to pause and consider your own life. If you designed your days with clarity, priority, rhythm, and boundaries, where would you be in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10? What masterpiece would you carve from the marble of your time? The clock will keep ticking, with or without your design. The only question is whether you will use its rhythm to build your destiny, or whether you will allow it to pass in waste. Your days are your life in miniature. Design them well, and your destiny will follow. Chapter 4. Eliminating Time Thieves. You can design your day with clarity, align your hours with your vision, and structure your clock with purpose. But if you do not learn to defend your time, it will be stolen from you. The truth is simple. The world is full of thieves, and the most dangerous ones do not steal your money. They steal your time. Every minute wasted on the wrong things is a piece of your life you will never get back. And unlike money, you cannot earn it again. If you want to succeed by the clock, you must become ruthless in identifying and eliminating the time thieves that surround you. Time thieves come in many disguises. Some are obvious, like the endless hours spent scrolling through screens, the binge-watching of shows that add nothing to your growth, or the habit of procrastination that delays progress day after day. But others are subtle. They hide in commitments that feel important but are not, in relationships that drain your energy, in tasks that make you busy but not productive. The most dangerous time thieves are the ones you do not even recognize. Let's begin with one of the biggest culprits: distraction. We live in an age where attention is under constant attack. Your phone vibrates, your inbox fills, notifications pop up, advertisements call for your attention, and in the midst of it all, your focus shatters. Research shows that once distracted, it can take nearly half an hour to regain deep concentration. Think about that. One small interruption can steal not just seconds, but entire blocks of your day. The thief here is not just the moment of distraction, but the cascade of lost focus that follows. To eliminate this thief, you must take control of your environment. Do not expect willpower to save you. Design must. Turn off notifications. Place your phone in another room when you need to focus. Use tools that block distracting websites during work hours. Create a physical space that signals to your brain, this is where deep work happens. Success belongs to those who treat focus as sacred, who build walls around their attention and guard it with vigilance. Another thief wears the mask of busyness. How often do we hear people say, "I'm so busy," as though it were a badge of honor? But busyness is not success. Busyness is often a trap. It makes you feel productive while stealing your hours. Endless meetings, trivial errands, minor tasks that could be delegated, all of these can fill your day, leaving you exhausted but no closer to your vision. The thief here is the illusion of progress. You worked hard, but on the wrong things. The antidote to busyness is priority. Ask yourself daily, what few tasks truly matter? If I could only accomplish one meaningful thing today, what would it be? Learn to say no to what does not align with your vision. Declining a request is not selfish, it is an act of protection. Every yes you give is a no to something else. If you say yes to trivial meetings, you are saying no to the project that could change your life. If you say yes to endless errands, you are saying no to time with your family. Protecting your time means being willing to say no with conviction. Then there is the thief of procrastination. This thief whispers lies. You'll feel more ready tomorrow. You work better under pressure. You have plenty of time. But procrastination is not harmless delay. It compounds into regret. The tasks you avoid today pile into stress tomorrow. The opportunities you postpone slip away. The dreams you delay grow distant until they feel impossible. Procrastination is a slow theft, not the robbery of a moment, but the quiet erosion of a future. The cure for procrastination is action, not massive action, not perfect action, but small, immediate action. The longer you wait to start, the heavier the task becomes in your mind. Begin with something tiny. Open the document. Write the first sentence. Make the phone call. Progress creates momentum, and momentum kills procrastination. Discipline is not about feeling ready. It is about acting even when you are not. Every time you take one step forward, you weaken the grip of this thief. Another thief is overcommitment. Many people lose their hours not to distractions or laziness, but to generosity stretched too thin. They say yes to every invitation, every request, every responsibility until their days are no longer their own. They want to be helpful, to be liked, to be seen as reliable. But in giving away their time to everyone else, they steal it from themselves. The thief here is not selfishness, but the fear of disappointing others. To defeat overcommitment, you must learn the art of selective generosity. Your time is a gift, and like all valuable gifts, it must be given wisely. Choose carefully where to invest it. Serve where your presence makes the greatest impact, not where guilt or obligation drives you. Remember, saying no to others is often saying yes to yourself, your family, your goals. Your destiny deserves protection. Perhaps the most invisible thief is negativity. Hours are stolen not only by actions but by emotions. Worry, resentment, envy, and fear consume mental space and drain energy that could be used for growth. Think of the hours lost replaying an argument, the nights wasted worrying about what might happen, the days poisoned by resentment toward someone else's success. These are hours spent building nothing. Negativity is a thief that lives inside the mind, robbing the present and the future at once. The cure is perspective. Practice gratitude daily. Focus on what you control, release what you cannot. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher instead of pulling you down. Negativity may visit your mind, but you do not have to give it residency. Protect your mental space as fiercely as you protect your calendar. But the greatest time thief of all may be indecision. Opportunities pass, choices linger, and while you wait for perfect certainty, time drains away. Indecision is often disguised as caution, but in truth, it is a refusal to commit. While others move forward, indecisive people remain stuck, watching their lives slip by. The thief here is paralysis. The solution is courage. Rarely will you have perfect clarity before you act. Most of life is about making the best decision with the information you have, then learning and adjusting as you go. Action creates clarity. Motion creates learning. The longer you wait to decide, the more time you lose. Train yourself to decide quickly on small things and steadily on large ones. Trust that even mistakes move you forward, while hesitation keeps you still. Now, how do you put all this into practice? Begin with awareness. For 1 week, track your time. Write down what you do in each hour. At the end of the week, review it honestly. Where did your hours go? How much was invested in growth, and how much was stolen by thieves? Most people are shocked by what they discover. Awareness shines a light on the hidden thefts you didn't notice. Next, eliminate. Once you identify your thieves, create a plan to remove them. Delete distracting apps, block websites, decline unnecessary commitments, shorten meetings, set boundaries with people who drain you, say no to what doesn't matter. The goal is not to fill your life with more, but to protect it from less. Then, replace. Time thieves leave empty space, and unless you fill that space with intention, new thieves will appear. Replace scrolling with reading. Replace gossip with meaningful conversations. Replace procrastination with small actions. Replace negativity with gratitude. Each replacement strengthens your defenses and builds your destiny. Finally, reinforce. Eliminating time thieves is not a one-time act. They will return wearing new disguises. Your job is to stay vigilant, to revisit your habits regularly, to guard your hours with discipline. Think of it as cleaning a garden. Weeds always try to grow, but consistent attention keeps them from overtaking the flowers. The truth is this: success is not only about what you do, but also about what you refuse to do. A well-designed life is not built only by addition, but by subtraction. Each time you eliminate a thief, you reclaim your life. Each hour protected is an hour invested, and over time, these protected hours add up to a destiny free from regret. Imagine your future 5 years from now. If you allow distractions, busyness, procrastination, overcommitment, negativity, and indecision to steal your time, where will you be? Stuck, frustrated, unfulfilled. But if you eliminate these thieves, if you guard your clock with vigilance, if you protect your hours like treasure, where could you be? Stronger, freer, more accomplished, living a life by design instead of by accident. The choice is yours. The thieves are real. They will come for your hours every day, but you have the power to stop them. Success is not only about mastering your minutes, but also about defending them. And when you learn to eliminate the time thieves, you discover that you have always had enough time. It was simply being stolen. Guard your time. Protect your hours. Defend your destiny. Chapter 5. The Power of Focused Hours. If time is the currency of life, then focus is the way you spend it wisely. A distracted hour is like pouring your wealth into a leaking bucket. No matter how much you give, very little is retained. But a focused hour is like a laser beam, precise, powerful, capable of cutting through obstacles that would otherwise take days or weeks to overcome. The truth is simple. Success does not require endless hours. It requires focused hours. For most of history, people understood this instinctively. Farmers worked in clear cycles, craftsmen gave undivided attention to their trades, and writers filled pages in solitude. But in our modern world, focus is under constant siege. Never before in history has attention been attacked as aggressively as it is today. Notifications, advertisements, emails, texts, apps, and endless content compete for every second of your awareness. We live in a world designed to fragment attention, and yet the greatest progress still belongs to those who master the art of deep, undistracted work. The power of a focused hour cannot be overstated. Imagine two people given the same task. One works with full attention, phone turned off, distractions eliminated, mind fully present. The other keeps glancing at messages, switching between tabs, stopping to check social media, and reacting to interruptions. One finishes in 60 minutes what the other cannot complete in an entire afternoon. The difference is not intelligence or effort, but focus. Let us begin by understanding the science of focus. The human brain was not designed for constant switching. Each time you move from one task to another, even briefly, your brain pays what scientists call a switching cost. It takes minutes, sometimes up to half an hour, to return to the same depth of concentration. This means that multitasking, often seen as a strength, is actually a thief of productivity. You may feel busy, but you are scattering your mental energy across tasks, never reaching the depth where true breakthroughs happen. Deep focus, on the other hand, activates what psychologists call the flow state. This is a mental zone where you are so immersed in a task that time seems to disappear, distractions fade, and your performance reaches its peak. Athletes call it being in the zone. Writers describe it as words flowing effortlessly. Scientists and inventors often find their greatest insights in these states of uninterrupted concentration. Flow is not accidental. It is the result of creating conditions where focus can thrive. So how do you create focused hours in your own life? It begins with intention. You must decide which tasks are worthy of deep focus. Not everything deserves your undivided attention. Checking emails does not require focus. Organizing files does not require focus. But writing a book, building a business plan, learning a new skill, designing a product, or training your body, these demand your best hours. Identify your highest value tasks and assign them your peak focus periods. The second step is environment. Focus cannot survive in chaos. If your workspace is filled with interruptions, you will never enter deep work. Design your environment to signal concentration. Turn off notifications. Clear your desk of distractions. Inform those around you that you are unavailable during certain hours. If necessary, put on headphones or find a quiet space. Your environment should whisper to your brain, "This is where focus lives." The third step is rhythm. The human brain cannot maintain deep focus indefinitely. Research suggests that the optimal length for a deep work session is between 90 minutes to 2 hours, followed by a short period of rest. Pushing beyond this leads to diminishing returns. Think of focus like a muscle. It grows stronger with use, but it also tires. The most successful people do not work endlessly. They work deeply, then rest deliberately. Structure your day with blocks of intense focus followed by renewal. Let us explore some practical systems for building focused hours. One method is the time block. Instead of leaving your day open to randomness, schedule specific blocks where you commit to one meaningful task. For example, from 9 to 11, you write. From 2 to 4, you study. These blocks are non-negotiable. When the block begins, you dive in. When it ends, you step back. Over time, your brain learns to associate these blocks with deep focus, making it easier to enter flow. Another system is the Pomodoro technique. In this method, you set a timer for 25 minutes of complete focus, followed by a 5-minute break. After 4 cycles, you take a longer break. While shorter than traditional deep work, this method trains your mind to concentrate in bursts and can be especially useful when starting out or battling procrastination. The goal is not the technique itself, but the discipline of concentrated effort. Then there is the single task principle. Simply put, it is the refusal to multitask. In a world that glorifies doing many things at once, the single tasker stands out. They give their entire mind to one thing until it is complete. This principle may sound simple, but it is revolutionary. Imagine eating dinner while only eating dinner, not scrolling, not watching, not texting. Imagine working on a project while only working, not checking notifications, not half listening to music, not switching tabs. The single task principle multiplies the power of every hour because it aligns your full being with a single direction. But focus is not only external, it is also internal. The greatest enemy of concentration is often not the phone on your desk, but the thoughts in your mind. Worries, to-do lists, unfinished conversations. These mental intrusions pull your attention away. To counter this, use a technique called the brain dump. Before entering focused work, take 5 minutes to write down everything cluttering your mind. List your worries, your errands, your small tasks. By putting them on paper, you free your mind to focus without fear of forgetting. Consider the stories of great creators. Charles Darwin spent hours each morning in deep study, writing in solitude without interruption. Nikola Tesla was known to immerse himself so fully in his work that he would forget to eat. Modern entrepreneurs like Bill Gates and Elon Musk have credited periods of focused hours, Gates' famous "think weeks," for example, as the source of breakthrough ideas. These are not coincidences. Focused hours are the birthplace of genius. And yet, most people never give themselves this gift. They scatter their energy across hundreds of shallow tasks, never entering the deep waters where true value lives. They mistake busyness for progress, believing that a packed calendar equals productivity. But the truth is harsh. If your hours are not focused, they are wasted. Shallow work keeps you afloat, but deep work takes you forward. The question is not whether you are capable of deep focus. You are. The question is whether you are willing to create the conditions for it. Are you willing to silence distractions, to protect your best hours, to endure the discomfort of sitting with a single task? Focus is not easy. It requires discipline, patience, and the courage to resist the constant pull of novelty. But the rewards are enormous. Focused hours compound. 1 hour of deep work every day is not just 5 hours a week. It is hundreds of hours a year. Imagine what you could create with that time. A book written, a business launched, a language mastered, a body transformed. Now imagine 10 years of focused hours. The difference between the distracted and the focused becomes almost unrecognizable. One drifts in circles, the other moves mountains. But let us go even deeper. Focus is not only about tasks, it is about life itself. What you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, you see more problems. If you focus on opportunities, you find more opportunities. If you focus on gratitude, you feel more abundance. Focus shapes not just your productivity, but your reality. The hours you spend focused on growth, love, creativity, and service shape a life filled with meaning. The hours you spend focused on complaints, envy, and fear shape a life filled with bitterness. Focus is destiny in disguise. To harness the power of focused hours, you must also master renewal. The mind, like the body, needs rest. Sleep, exercise, and reflection are not luxuries. They are prerequisites for deep work. A tired mind cannot focus. A restless body cannot concentrate. The most productive people are not those who work the longest, but those who work deeply and rest deliberately. Your ability to focus tomorrow depends on how you restore yourself today. So here is the challenge. Begin with 1 focused hour. Choose the task that matters most. Remove distractions. Create the environment. Enter with intention. Work until the hour is complete. Do this daily. Soon, 1 hour will become 2, 2 will become 3, and focus will become your natural state. With each focused hour, you reclaim your life from the chaos of the modern world. Remember this: greatness is not built in scattered minutes. It is built in focused hours. Every book you admire, every invention that changed the world, every company that reshaped history, all of them were born in the silent, powerful hours of deep focus. And the same power is available to you. The clock is ticking, your hours are passing. The question is simple. Will you let them scatter into fragments of distraction, or will you gather them into focused blocks that build the future you dream of? The answer will define not only your productivity, but your destiny. Chapter 6. The compounding effect of small wins. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a day and underestimate what they can achieve in a year. They dream of breakthroughs, overnight success, sudden transformations. They want big leaps, dramatic changes, grand victories. But life rarely works that way. Success is not usually one giant step. It is the result of thousands of small, deliberate steps accumulated over time. Each small win may feel insignificant in the moment, but when repeated, compounded and multiplied, they create extraordinary results. This is the compounding effect of small wins, the quiet, unstoppable force that shapes destinies. Just as money compounds when invested wisely, so too does effort, discipline, and progress. A single coin invested today may look trivial, but given enough time, it multiplies into wealth. Likewise, a single hour spent learning, a single workout, a single page written, a single meaningful conversation, when repeated consistently, these small wins compound into mastery, health, success, and fulfillment. Think about water dripping on stone. One drop does nothing. 100 drops leave no mark. But 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 drops, and the stone begins to wear away. The persistence of small actions creates change where force cannot. In the same way, the daily choices you make, what time you wake, what you eat, how you spend your focus, carve the shape of your future. You may not notice the impact in a day or even a week, but in a year, 5 years, 10 years, the difference is staggering. The problem is that most people quit before the compounding begins. They go to the gym for a week, see no change, and stop. They read for a month, but the wisdom feels abstract, so they give up. They save a little money, but it looks insignificant, so they spend it. They underestimate the power of consistency. They fail to understand that compounding rewards the patient, not the impatient. Success does not come to those who act once, but to those who act repeatedly, relentlessly, long after others have stopped. Let us consider the story of James Clear's Atomic Habits, or Darren Hardy's Compound Effect. But let us go even deeper. Imagine two individuals. Both are the same age, same background, same opportunities. One decides to eat slightly healthier each day, exercise 3 times a week, read 15 minutes before bed, and spend 1 hour each day building a new skill. The other decides to eat slightly worse, skip exercise, watch television before bed, and spend an extra hour on entertainment. After a week, the difference is invisible. After a month, it is still hard to notice. But after a year, one is healthier, smarter, more skilled, and closer to opportunity. The other is weaker, more stagnant, and further behind. After 5 years, the gap is unrecognizable. One is thriving, the other is struggling. This is the compounding effect of small wins and small losses. Every choice tilts your future, even if it seems invisible in the present. To harness the compounding effect, you must shift your perspective. Stop asking, "What will this action give me today?" and start asking, "What will this action give me if I repeat it for years?" The answer changes everything. Reading 10 pages today may not feel valuable, but reading 10 pages a day for 10 years is 3,650 pages a year. Dozens of books, hundreds of ideas, a library of wisdom inside your mind. Running 1 mile today may not seem like much, but 1 mile a day for a year is 365 miles, the distance across an entire country. Writing 1 page today may feel small, but 1 page a day for a year is a book. A book a year for 10 years is a library of authorship. The compounding effect is not only about skills and achievements, it is also about identity. Every small win changes the way you see yourself. When you keep a promise to yourself, you begin to believe in your own discipline. When you complete a task, you begin to see yourself as capable. Each small win reinforces the story you tell yourself. I am the kind of person who follows through, who grows, who invests in my future. And identity is powerful. Once you believe something about yourself, you act in alignment with it. Small wins compound into identity, and identity compounds into destiny. But how do you design your life to maximize this effect? Begin with keystone habits, small actions that trigger larger transformations. For example, exercising regularly often leads to eating healthier, sleeping better, and managing stress more effectively. Reading daily often leads to greater curiosity, better conversations, and improved decision-making. Waking up earlier often leads to more focused mornings, better planning, and greater productivity. By choosing a single keystone habit, you set off a chain reaction that amplifies the compounding effect. Next, measure your wins. What gets measured grows. Keep track of your progress, no matter how small. Write down your workouts, log your reading, record your savings, track your tasks. The act of measurement makes the invisible visible. It shows you that your small wins are accumulating, even when they don't yet feel significant. Progress tracked is progress reinforced, and progress reinforced is progress sustained. Another key is to lower the barrier to action. Many people fail because they make the win too big. They set goals so large that they feel impossible to sustain. The secret of compounding is not in doing massive things occasionally, but in doing small things consistently. If you want to run, start with 5 minutes. If you want to write, start with 1 paragraph. If you want to read, start with 1 page. Small is sustainable, small is repeatable, and small is what compounds. But beware, compounding works in both directions. Just as small wins accumulate into success, small losses accumulate into failure. A cigarette smoked daily becomes disease. A dessert eaten nightly becomes poor health. $1 wasted daily becomes poverty. Minutes lost to distraction daily become wasted years. The compounding effect does not care whether you use it for growth or decline. It simply multiplies whatever you feed it. This is why awareness is crucial. Every choice matters. Every hour matters. Every habit matters. Ask yourself daily, what am I compounding? Am I compounding strength or weakness? Knowledge or ignorance? Wealth or debt? Connection or isolation? Growth or stagnation? The answer determines not just your future, but your identity. Consider Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men alive. His fortune did not appear overnight. It is the product of compounding, investments made early, left to grow steadily for decades. But what few notice is that his wisdom and discipline also compounded. Each decision built upon the last, each year of patience multiplied his gains. The same principle applies outside of finance. Your life is an investment account, and every action is a deposit. The interest is your future. Now let us talk about momentum. Small wins create momentum, and momentum is the engine of greatness. When you take one small action, you feel progress. That progress motivates you to act again. Repeated often enough, it becomes a cycle. Momentum turns discipline into desire. What once felt difficult begins to feel natural. The person who struggled to run 1 mile now craves the next run. The person who forced themselves to write 1 page now cannot go a day without writing. The person who resisted saving now delights in watching their wealth grow. Momentum is the hidden fuel of compounding, and it begins with one small win. The compounding effect also teaches us patience. We live in a culture obsessed with speed, with quick fixes and instant results. But the greatest rewards are not immediate. They belong to those who wait, who persist, who endure. The tree does not bear fruit the day after it is planted. The body does not transform after a single workout. The skill is not mastered after 1 attempt. Compounding requires faith, the belief that your small efforts will bear fruit if given enough time. Patience is not passive. It is active faith in the power of consistency. Finally, let us address the emotional side of small wins. Each time you achieve something, no matter how minor, you experience a sense of progress. Progress is one of the most powerful human motivators. People can endure hardship if they feel they are moving forward. They can overcome obstacles if they see improvement. Small wins feed this need. They remind you that you are capable, that you are growing, that your efforts matter. Success is not only measured at the finish line, it is experienced in the daily victories along the way. So here is the challenge. Choose one area of your life and commit to a small win every day. It could be health, learning, career, relationships, or personal growth. Start small. Track your progress. Stay consistent. Let time do the heavy lifting. Trust the compound effect. Because years from now, when you look back, you will realize that your destiny was not shaped by one grand moment, but by the thousands of small wins you stacked each day. Your life is the sum of your habits. Your habits are the sum of your choices. Your choices are the sum of your hours. And your hours are the sum of your focus. This is the chain of compounding, and it is unbreakable. Never underestimate the power of small wins. They are the bricks of greatness, the seeds of destiny, the invisible force that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. 1 hour invested wisely may not change your life today, but it will transform your life tomorrow, and every tomorrow after that. The clock is ticking. The question is not whether time will pass, but whether you will use it to compound small wins or to multiply small losses. The answer will decide everything. Chapter 7. Building a time-resilient mindset. Time is the most valuable resource we have, but even the best plans, the most disciplined schedules, and the most carefully designed clocks will eventually collide with reality. Life does not unfold in perfect rhythm. Emergencies arrive. Plans fail. Illness strikes. Markets collapse. People disappoint. Distractions return. No matter how intentional you are with your days, there will be moments when your hours are taken from you by forces beyond your control. The question is not whether these disruptions will happen. They will. The question is, will you allow them to derail your future, or will you develop a mindset that bends without breaking, adapts without surrendering, and continues to move forward? This is the essence of resilience, the ability to protect your time and continue investing in your destiny, even when life tries to rob you of it. A time-resilient mindset is more than discipline. Discipline creates the structure, but resilience sustains it through storms. Without resilience, the first failure becomes the last. The first distraction becomes permanent. The first setback becomes defeat. Resilience is the anchor that keeps you steady when the winds of life try to sweep away your progress. Let us begin with a truth most people overlook. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Every person who has ever achieved greatness has failed, often repeatedly. Thomas Edison, when asked about his thousands of failed attempts at creating the light bulb, replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His resilience was not in avoiding failure, but in using failure as feedback. Each attempt was a teacher, not a thief. The same principle applies to time. You will waste hours. You will slip into distraction. You will procrastinate. You will miss opportunities. But resilience means refusing to let wasted time multiply into wasted lives. Too many people make one mistake and then surrender. They miss a workout and then stop going altogether. They break their diet and then binge for weeks. They miss one writing session and then abandon the book. The resilient see wasted hours as accidents, not identities. They recover quickly. They ask, "What can I do now?" instead of dwelling on "What did I lose then?" This is the first pillar of time resilience, recovery speed. The faster you recover from wasted hours, the more time you save. Imagine two people trying to build a habit of daily exercise. One misses a workout and thinks, "I've failed. What's the point?" They stop for months. The other misses a workout and thinks, "That was one mistake. Tomorrow I begin again." One mistake costs the first person months. The same mistake costs the second person only a day. The difference is not willpower, but resilience. The second pillar is adaptability. Life will not always give you the hours you want. You may plan for 2 hours of focused work and get interrupted after 30 minutes. You may plan for a weekend of deep rest and get called into unexpected responsibilities. You may plan to invest in one opportunity and watch it collapse. The rigid mindset breaks here. The resilient mindset adapts. Instead of saying, "I can't do what I planned, so I'll do nothing," the resilient say, "I can't do what I planned, but what can I do with the time I still have?" Adaptability requires creativity. A parent with young children may never find long hours of uninterrupted focus, but they can design shorter, sharper bursts of progress. An entrepreneur facing financial challenges may not be able to scale as planned, but they can build resilience and skills in the meantime. The resilient understand that time is rarely perfect. Instead of demanding perfection, they use what they have. A short window can be powerful if used well. Half an hour of focus beats 3 hours of wasted complaining. The third pillar of resilience is mental framing. Your perception of time shapes your experience of it. Two people can live the same hour in completely different ways, depending on how they frame it. One sees interruption as catastrophe, the other sees it as a challenge. One sees failure as wasted time, the other sees it as training. One sees delay as punishment, the other sees it as preparation. A resilient mindset frames every lost or disrupted hour as a lesson, not a theft. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they ask, "What can I learn? What can I gain? How can I grow?" The fourth pillar is emotional control. When plans collapse, emotions often rise. Frustration, anger, regret, and despair consume not only the lost hours, but the future ones. How many days have been destroyed not by what happened, but by the emotional reaction to what happened? The resilient do not deny their feelings, but they do not let feelings govern their time. They practice calm in the storm. They pause, breathe, reflect, and then redirect. They understand that one wasted hour is acceptable, but giving away the next 10 hours in frustration is not. The fifth pillar is belief. Without belief in the value of your time, resilience collapses. If you think your hours do not matter, you will surrender them easily. If you believe your small efforts are meaningless, you will give up when progress is slow. But if you believe that every hour is a brick in your destiny, then even the smallest recovery feels meaningful. Belief fuels perseverance. It reminds you that the clock is always ticking and every second is another chance to invest. To build this resilient mindset, practice reframing failure as feedback. Write down not only what you accomplished today, but what went wrong and what you learned. Treat wasted hours as teachers, not thieves. Practice recovery speed. If you waste the morning, reclaim the afternoon. If you waste the afternoon, reclaim the evening. If you waste the day, reclaim tomorrow. Never let one wasted moment turn into a wasted season. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling. Before she became the world-famous author of Harry Potter, she faced rejection from 12 different publishers. She was a single mother, living on welfare, struggling to survive. Yet she continued to write, word by word, hour by hour. Each rejection could have been a reason to quit. Instead, she reframed them as steps toward the publisher who would finally say yes. Her resilience turned wasted hours of waiting and rejection into fuel for persistence. Or think of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. 27 years, nearly 3 decades of stolen time. Yet instead of allowing those years to destroy him, he used them to build patience, wisdom, and vision. When released, he led his country toward reconciliation instead of revenge. Mandela's life shows us that even the most extreme theft of time can be transformed by resilience into preparation for greatness. Resilience also requires community. Alone, setbacks feel heavier. Together, they become bearable. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your vision, who encourage you when you stumble, who help you see the bigger picture when you are lost in the moment. Isolation magnifies failure. Connection multiplies resilience. Finally, resilience requires acceptance. Some hours will be lost forever. Some opportunities will never return. Some plans will collapse beyond repair. The resilient do not waste more time fighting the unchangeable. They grieve, they accept, and then they move forward. Acceptance is not weakness. It is the courage to stop wasting time on what cannot be controlled and to invest in what still can. Let us make this practical. Begin building resilience by practicing these 3 steps daily. First, reflect briefly on wasted hours, but without judgment. Simply notice them. Awareness without guilt prevents the spiral of regret. Second, ask yourself, what is the smallest meaningful action I can take now? Then do it immediately. Action is the antidote to despair. Third, end each day with gratitude. Write down 3 things that went well, however small. Gratitude reframes your time, turning attention away from what was lost and toward what was gained. Over time, these small practices compound into a mindset that cannot be shaken. You will no longer fear failure because you will know you can recover. You will no longer cling to perfection because you will know progress is enough. You will no longer waste days in regret because you will know every new day is a fresh deposit of hours. Resilience is not about never falling. It is about always rising. It is about seeing wasted time not as the end, but as an interruption you can overcome. It is about adapting when life changes the plan, reframing setbacks into lessons, controlling emotions, strengthening belief, leaning on community, and accepting what cannot be changed. The resilient understand one truth above all: the clock does not stop. Life moves forward whether you are ready or not. You cannot pause it, rewind it, or bargain with it. But you can rise each day and choose to begin again. That choice, repeated thousands of times, is the true power of a time-resilient mindset. So when you stumble, rise quickly. When you are interrupted, adapt wisely. When you fail, learn deeply. When you despair, act anyway. When you lose, recover. When you are broken, rebuild. Your hours are too valuable to surrender. Protect them, reclaim them, multiply them. Build a mindset so resilient that no storm, no failure, no loss can steal your destiny. The clock is relentless, but so are you. Chapter 8: The Legacy of Time. Well spent. Time is not just about productivity. It is not only about building businesses, achieving goals, or checking off lists. Time is about life itself, and more than that, about the life you leave behind. At the end of your journey, what will remain? Not the hours you worked, not the wealth you earned, not even the goals you achieved in isolation. What will remain is the legacy of how you spent your time. Legacy is not something distant, reserved for the end of life. It is built every day, in every choice, in every interaction. Each hour spent is a brushstroke on the canvas of your legacy. Every moment of kindness, every act of discipline, every piece of work that touches another person, every lesson passed on, these are the marks of time well spent. Legacy is simply the story others tell about you when your hours are finished. The danger is that most people do not think about legacy until it is too late. They spend their days chasing the urgent, sacrificing what truly matters. They prioritize possessions over relationships, tasks over meaning, noise over silence. Then, when their time runs short, they realize too much of it was wasted. regret fills the final hours. Regret for time spent on things that did not matter. Regret for words unsaid, dreams unpursued, love withheld. The legacy of wasted time is emptiness. But it does not have to be this way. Legacy is not a gift. It is not luck. It is not a mystery. Legacy is designed. It is created by the deliberate spending of time on what matters most. And if you choose, starting today, to spend your hours with clarity, purpose, and courage, your legacy will be one of meaning, growth, and impact. Let us begin with the first truth. Your legacy is not measured in years, but in moments. A parent may spend only minutes with a child, but speak words that shape their life forever. A leader may give a single speech that inspires generations. A friend may offer one act of kindness that changes someone's path. Never underestimate the power of a single hour. The legacy of your time is not in the quantity, but in the quality of the moments you create. The second truth, your legacy is not built in private, but in connection. We often think of success as individual achievement, but legacy is collective. It is measured in the lives you touch, the hours you spend mentoring someone, listening to someone, loving someone. These are the investments that ripple outward far beyond your lifetime. Your work may fade, your possessions will disappear, but the time you gave to others will echo in their lives and the lives they touch after them. Consider the story of Mother Teresa. She did not build vast wealth, nor did she wield political power, but she gave her hours to the sick, the poor, the forgotten. Those hours, simple, humble, and consistent, built a legacy that inspires the world. Her time became her testimony. The same is true for you. You do not need fame or fortune to build legacy. You need only to spend your hours with love, service, and presence. The third truth, your legacy is shaped by your values. What do you want your time to represent? What principles do you want to stand for? Integrity, courage, compassion, excellence. Every hour you live either strengthens or weakens these values. When your actions align with your principles, your legacy becomes clear. When they do not, your legacy becomes confusion. To design a legacy is to decide, what do I want my time to stand for? Then live it every day. Now let us address a hard reality. Much of your time will be forgotten. The errands you run, the meetings you attend, the small frustrations of daily life, most of these will fade. But within this reality lies a gift, because if much will be forgotten, you are free to choose what will be remembered. Instead of scattering your hours on the trivial, you can pour them into the meaningful. Instead of obsessing over small inconveniences, you can focus on big contributions. Legacy is not about doing everything, it is about choosing wisely. The fourth truth, your legacy is built on contribution, not consumption. The hours you spend consuming, watching, scrolling, buying, distracting, vanish quickly. They leave no mark. But the hours you spend creating, building, serving, teaching, loving, these endure. Legacy belongs to the contributors. Ask yourself, am I consuming life or contributing to it? The answer defines the difference between a forgotten existence and a remembered life. The fifth truth, your legacy is tested in adversity. It is easy to live with purpose when life is comfortable, but legacy is shaped most deeply in the moments of struggle. How you respond to failure, how you endure loss, how you face challenges. These reveal your character and inspire others. Think of Viktor Frankl, who, in the horrors of concentration camps, found meaning in suffering and used his time to teach the world about the power of purpose. His legacy was not built in comfort, but in hardship. Your own trials, if met with resilience, will add depth to your legacy. The sixth truth, your legacy outlives you. The hours you spend will not end when your clock does. They continue through the people you influenced, the work you created, the love you gave. A teacher's influence lives in their students. A parent's lessons live in their children. An artist's creation lives in those who experience it. Your legacy is not only your life story, it is the chapters others continue to write because of you. So how do you begin building a legacy of time well spent? First, define your vision. Ask yourself, if I had only 5 years left, how would I spend my time? What would I want to build? Who would I want to love? What would I want to leave behind? Your answers reveal your deepest values. Write them down. Let them guide your days. Second, align your hours with your vision. If family is central to your legacy, spend more time with them now. If creativity is central, prioritize it daily. If impact is central, invest in service. Legacy is not built at the end. It is built in the present. Every hour aligned with your vision is an hour invested in legacy. Third, simplify. Legacy is not about doing everything. It is about doing what matters most. Eliminate distractions that add nothing. Release obligations that drain your spirit. Focus on the few things that will matter in the long run. Simplicity creates clarity, and clarity builds legacy. Fourth, multiply your time by teaching others. When you invest in others, your hours multiply. Skills shared, wisdom taught, love given, these extend beyond your lifetime. Legacy is not only what you do, but what you enable others to do. Every mentor, every leader, every parent, every friend multiplies their time by planting seeds in others. Fifth, reflect daily. Ask yourself at the end of each day, if today were my last, what would my legacy be? Did I spend my hours in alignment with my values? Did I give my time to what matters? Reflection keeps you honest. It prevents drift. It ensures that you do not wake up years later with regret. Sixth, embrace mortality. Many fear the reminder that time is limited, but this awareness is the ultimate motivator. Knowing that the clock will stop makes every hour more precious. The Stoics practiced memento mori, the reminder of death, not to despair, but to live more fully. When you remember that your hours are finite, you stop wasting them. You stop delaying dreams. You stop living as if life were rehearsal. Mortality makes time valuable, and value builds legacy. Finally, serve. The greatest legacies are not measured in achievements, but in impact. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Service transforms your time from personal gain to collective good. When you give your hours to lifting others, your legacy becomes eternal. Consider the words of Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Legacy is not in the details of your schedule, but in the imprint of your presence. Every hour you spend making others feel valued, loved, and inspired is an hour invested in an eternal story. Let us now zoom out. Imagine your life as a clock. Each hour represents a stage of your journey. Morning, childhood and youth. Afternoon, adulthood and growth. Evening, maturity and reflection. Midnight, the end. What will your clock say when it strikes midnight? Will it speak of wasted hours or of a life poured into meaning? Will it tell a story of distraction or of devotion? Will it whisper regret or sing of impact? The choice is yours. You cannot control how long the clock runs, but you can control how you spend its ticks. And if you spend them well, with clarity, love, contribution, and courage, then your legacy will not end when the clock does. It will continue to echo in the lives you touched, the work you created, the love you gave, and the stories others tell about you. The legacy of time well spent is not measured in length of life, but in depth of impact. You may live many years and waste them, leaving nothing behind. Or you may live fewer years, but fill them with such meaning that your name is remembered for generations. The clock does not decide, you do. So live each day as a chapter of your legacy. Spend your hours as if they were your last. Build small wins that compound into greatness. Focus deeply. Eliminate thieves. Adapt resiliently. Love generously. Serve boldly. Reflect honestly. Leave nothing for later, because later is never promised. Only now is real. The final truth is this: the legacy of time well spent is not about leaving monuments or riches. It is about leaving people better than you found them. It is about living so fully, so intentionally, so courageously that when your clock strikes its final hour, you can smile and say, "I spent my time well." The clock has been ticking since the day you were born, and it will keep ticking until your final hour. You cannot slow it down, and you cannot buy it back. But you can choose every single day how you will spend it. Spend it carelessly, and it will vanish. Spend it wisely, and it will build a life of meaning, impact, and legacy. Remember, success is not found in some distant future. It is created in the hours you hold right now. Master your minutes, and you will master your destiny. The time is yours. The choice is yours. The clock is ticking. Spend it well.